And we rolling.
You ready? Cool. Hey Franklin, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. So, just for context guys, we just bumped into Franklin, what Kareem did. And he's managed to give us a few minutes of his time to ask him a few more questions.
Yeah.
But before we start, what's your background like? What do you do for people that don't know?
So I'm a private banker to entrepreneurs and business owners, high net worth business owners, predominantly from the UK.
Are you enjoying it?
I love it. It'll be 16 years soon since I've been in private banking, so something must be keeping me there.
How did you even get in? Because a lot of people, I remember I wanted to be like a broker or an investment banker.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to even get in the door at some of these companies. How did you get in to start?
I think I probably got in at a good time, 2008, just before the major global financial crisis. And I took a bit of a gamble to go into a sector that, was crumbling or was in trouble. Knowing that, money makes the world go around and, whatever turbulence we went through, it would need to be rebuilt. Yeah. So I took that opportunity just to start something new.
And you always wanted to be a banker from like a kid and stuff?
No, not really. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't know that a private banker even existed, right? That's not the world I come from. And so something that I kind of came into doing research, sort of finishing my degree thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Yeah. And coming across that and thinking, wow, okay, do you know what? I think this is an area that I might be able to achieve some success in.
Yeah. Because I guess kids would be like, okay, what do you want to do for a living? A doctor, a footballer. Private banking is very specific, isn't it?
It is. But all the things you've mentioned, so footballers, musicians, doctors, if you're successful, you probably have a private banker. Yeah, or you have an advisor, right, that looks after your money and your wealth. So despite, that level of wealth, it's still important about the foundations and fundamentals, managing money, financial literacy, checking your credit, making sure that you're budgeting and spending wisely. All that is still important.
So what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis?
We look after high net worth individuals who operate in a variety of sectors, so from hospitality, recruitment, healthcare, property, technology, and it's a real mix of industries really.
So if I'm a millionaire and I've got some wealth, whatever, I come to you, what service do you provide me directly?
So it's a holistic service really, all from banking to lending to investing to wills to estate planning to trusts, you name it. It's really about working with you on the journey as an entrepreneur because it's rarely ever a one-stop thing you need. It's about ongoing management and also helping you to achieve both commercial but personal success. Yeah,
and I guess some people are good at money but not good at managing their money.
Correct.
So I guess you help them to make sure it lasts longer than 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's this assumption that everyone's good at managing money because you make it, but that's not true, right? There are some principles about how you manage it that we're not taught at school, and you sort of have to find your own way to kind of get through life, really.
I think because a few of my friends' friends are footballers. Yeah. And the amount of money they made, but one of them got injured, and I think within 3 years he was broke.
Yeah.
And he was making about 60, 70 grand a week.
Right.
And it's like, how does that even happen?
It's the cost, right? It's the cost of living. So a lot of people will upgrade their lifestyle the more money they make, right? Even if they don't need to. But, if you go from earning 30 grand to 60 grand, you want a nicer car, you want nicer clothes, you take better holidays because you think, well, I deserve it now. But is it really necessary? The aim of the game is not just to make money, but to keep it. Yeah. So how long can you actually keep your money for? Yeah. And by you upgrading your life constantly, you're not keeping your money for very long.
It's tempting though, because if I had 50 million in the bank, I'd probably get some kind of car. Yeah,
but look, that's also the other misconception, right? A lot of people assume that millionaires are all walking around with millions of pounds in their bank account, and that's not true. Right? A lot of millionaires actually are cash poor because their money is invested into companies, normally privately owned companies which are illiquid. So you can't go and sell it tomorrow or sell a piece of it to get money out straight away. So, people become rich because of where they put their money. Yeah. It's very rare that people become rich just by saving money. It's about making investments, selling assets, achieving a capital event, which then gives them a big pot of money to go on and do things with.
That's interesting actually. And I feel like, is there a different mindset that you've seen amongst like the wealthy people you've met versus normal people, with the way they think about money and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, when you're exposed to a level of wealth, you have to think differently, right? And I think the main difference for me is that people with wealth look at money as an enabler. A lot of people will say, if I get £1 million in the bank, I'm good, I'm nice. Whereas someone with wealth has £1 million and think, I need that £1 million to become 10. How do I turn this money into more? How do I deploy this money? It's always a progressive way of using what you've got to make something else, rather than I have this and that's it, I'm done. Which is the mentality of a lot of people, that as soon as I come into money, I'm good. Well, people with money have money and make more money with that money. So it's always kind of thinking about what's next, rather than I have it and that's where I stop.
Yeah, because I feel like some people, they can't manage £2,000 £10,000 a month, they're not going to manage £2 million.
Yeah. And people assume that the more money they make, the better they become at managing it, but that's not true, because the principles you apply to 2,000 is likely to be what you apply to 2 million.
Yeah. So how did you climb the ladder where you work now?
Yeah.
And how was that journey? Was it easy the whole way, or?
Well, no, I mean, I don't think anything is easy in life, right? It's about your application and how intentional you are in terms of, having confidence in your ability. Banking is a very traditional industry. And so, there's people who've been around for, decades and decades. So when you come in there as a young person with ambition, of course, there's a lot of eyes watching, thinking, is this person actually capable? Are they able to deliver? And it's up to you then to be able to show and prove, and to be able to, prove that you are able to add value to an organization. So I did that for a few years consistently, making sure that I was setting my own targets above and beyond what the business was setting me. So if I knew that I hit my target, that means I smashed the business's target. And I kind of did that years and years on end. And that's how I climbed the ranks.
So you overachieved on what was given to you?
Yeah.
Worked harder than everyone else?
Correct.
And that's how you climbed the ladder?
Correct. And I always used to set myself, not against my peers, but the people above me, because I thought setting myself above, alongside my peers only kind of proves that I can do what they're asking me to do. But if I set my target above, then I'm already demonstrating I'm ready for the next jump. So I'm always thinking one step ahead rather than thinking where they expect me to perform. That's how you get ahead.
That's really good, man. And so I had a preconception that, everyone in banking went to private school, they've got wealthy parents, have contacts. Can normal people get into these kind of companies? Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, yes, of course, there are a lot of people in private banking who have connections because that's just the environment they grew up in. But I think more and more so, people now are finding out that, a career in private banking or investment banking or corporate banking is possible. And there are various schemes that you can actually use to get a foot in the door, whether it's graduate schemes or other employment opportunities, internships and things like that, which make it possible for people to get into it. I hear that, but I kind of feel like, okay, I get into this bank, I'm going to have to change myself as a person to fit with the environment. And that's what probably put me and a lot of people off in my community, that I just want to be myself at work, and I feel like I won't be able to. No,
and I can understand why people have that perception, but I think more and more often now, you can be your authentic self. As long as you're able to deliver the needs of the business and you can add value to the business, it doesn't really matter. And I think, if anything, if I'm a client, I would rather deal and work with somebody who's their authentic self and I can learn something from, rather than having carbon copies of people I've always dealt with. People are looking for experiences, right? People buy people now. So own and be comfortable in who you are. As long as you're there and you're able to deliver the business, that's what matters.
That's amazing, man. So in terms of like your journey, what would you say that you're proud of so far in terms of milestones in your career that you're happy about?
So it will be 16 years in private banking this year. I think being sane and surviving in a very high pressured industry for that length of time is definitely something that I'm proud of. But also I think it's giving people the perspective, and that's the reason why I sometimes do podcasts and I make appearances in places, but allowing people to see that there's a world beyond what they might think is possible, I think is very important. And so I'm proud that I've been able to do that to a degree, but there's a lot more work to be done. But also being able to open doors for other people who are deserving to be there, but because of where they're from, they don't have those people pulling them up. And so being that conduit, I think is important.
I mean, even now, like having you on this platform is, we appreciate it. Because you've got a busy schedule and a lot of big things to do, so we're happy you're here.
But I think the work you guys are doing is important because, people will find different avenues to find inspiration. And it's not always just one source, but actually there are various sources that are needed to tap into different areas of society.
And sometimes you have to hear the same thing from different people. Because you might articulate it a bit differently to somebody else. So it resonates.
Absolutely.
So, all right, I want to tap into, what are some of the secrets to wealth that you've discovered along your career path? So we're talking to the young person that's at home, living with their parents, they're broke, they don't know what to do. What advice do you have?
Well, look, I mean, I think if I was to give myself advice as a young person again, I would definitely say, think long-term sooner, right? I think a lot of people are trying to play games that are designed to make you rich slowly and get rich from it quickly. And so they're not getting rich quickly, then they get disheartened and they quit. Really think long term about, where do I want to be in 30 years and what do I need to start doing now in order to get to that position? Being broke is only a temporary state, right? I think there's this expectation that if you didn't grow up with a silver spoon, then you started from the bottom. Is that true? I don't agree. I think we're not all supposed to be born with the riches and the wealth, But it's what you go on to do with yourself, right? And so it's applying yourself, being deliberate. When you talk about investing in yourself, that's very important. But what does it actually mean? Does that mean reading literature, different types of literature, being in different rooms with different people, learning from different people to really make yourself as multidimensional as possible? So when you have an opportunity, you can really attack it with knowledge and experience. That's very important, and that's something you can control. There are lots of societal things that are out of control, but there are also a lot of things that you can control in terms of where you spend your time, what you expose yourself to, and what you then go on to do with that information that you gather from these experiences. But it's about being deliberate, I would say.
So would you say that anyone has the opportunity to be successful?
I think anyone can apply themselves to become successful. I think to become successful requires a few things. It's application, it's knowledge, it's contacts, sometimes a bit of luck. And we don't talk about luck enough. I know a lot of people who became millionaires as a result of COVID. They couldn't have foreseen that. But when the opportunity came, all the other things were already there. They were prepared, they had the contacts, and they were able to execute. So there's often a few things that need to go your way in order to hit that golden ticket. But until it comes, you just have to stay prepared. And that's where you can't be idle. A lot of people manifest, but they're not prepared. And so when the opportunity comes, they miss it. And they keep manifesting and it never comes. The law of attraction is great, but you have to be prepared.
I thought that talks directly to my experience and Kareem's experience as well. Like, for me, throughout my 20s, I was always frustrated. Like, I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
But for some reason, it didn't happen. I was like, oh, the world's against me. And I thought, look, let me just go out there, start filming and just speak to people. And all it was is a change in mindset of, okay, let me just go out there. I don't know where it's going to lead. I'm just going to walk down this path and see what happens. And things have started opening up in the last few months, meeting you, people like yourself. And all it was is a mindset shift. And again, that's something you can control, right? So you couldn't control the fact that opportunities weren't coming at you before, but you could control what you were doing in the meantime until they came. So now you've put yourself in a position where you can meet people who can open doors and give you opportunities because of the decision you made, which you control. And that's what I really want people to start thinking about. Forget the things you can't control. What can you control? And if you're doing your best at the things you can control, you will realize that opportunities start becoming available. And that's when people say it's lucky. Well, it's luck, but it's you meeting opportunities because you're prepared. I think they say put yourself where opportunities can find you.
Exactly.
So that's amazing, man. So just talking to that same person then, they're living at home. Do you think that society is broken? It's quite a deep one, but I feel like the average person can't afford the average house. They can't afford to leave home. It's not built for the normal person to succeed, especially in London. Is society broken?
I think you're talking there about the economic situation we find ourselves in.
Exactly.
And society has a layer on top of that, which makes it very difficult because society will tell you what clothes you should wear, what car you should drive, where you should go holidays, what flights you should take, and whether it's business or private. And that's what society is doing. But underneath that is the economic challenges of the reality. If you look on social media, no one's an average person. Everyone on social media is above average. And so you think, where are all the average people then? Where are the people who earn 30 grand a year? Because according to social media, everyone earns 6 figures. But that's not the reality. And so, yes, I think there are challenges that people need to navigate, but it's about staying true to yourself. All the millionaires I work with now started off at some point with less than what they have now. And it's being able to appreciate that and not thinking that when you're in your 20s, you need to have had investments that are making you millions or hundreds of thousands every year. That's not reality. And you should be planting seeds, but not expecting to become a millionaire in the next year, right? So when somebody asks me, what's your best investments? I'm like, ask me in 20 years' time, because I need to give my investments time to perform. Otherwise, it's unrealistic. And so I think you need to also be realistic in terms of where you are. And like I said, what are the things that are in your control? So if you're at home, and like I said, being broke is a temporary state. It's nothing permanent. It doesn't have to be. It only becomes that if you allow it to be, right? Be honest with where you are. Take full control of the things you can control and see how that pans out for you. But it's a challenge, yes. And people are thinking of ways to make more income because of the cost of living. And that's why becoming an entrepreneur and self-made is so popular now, because it can allow you to increase your disposable income. But then again, it's about how you go around that. Making sure that the businesses or activities you go on to do doesn't actually subtract from the money you're earning. Because a lot of side hustles, if they're not making you money, they're burning a hole in your pocket. You're paying for materials, you're paying for equipment, you're paying for production. Are you making any money from it? No. But that might have to be the plan, and you have to cost that in and say, right, okay, this is going to cost me X amount for the next 12 months. It might not make you any money, but if you know that's what you were intended to do, to get exposure to market, then in the long term it might. But just be prepared for that, because you might not make any money from what you're actually doing in the interim.
Yeah. So are you saying to basically not leave your day job and build up this business on the side? Is that what you mean?
I'm saying that before you leave your day job, make sure you've got the right resources. And resources isn't always about money, but it's about sometimes contacts. It's about knowing how to navigate something before you jump wholeheartedly into it. Because earning a salary and the importance of income keeps you steady, pays the bills, keep a roof over your head whilst you're building out whatever you want to do. But also establish, is the business you're trying to set up a lifestyle business or an actual business that's scalable and can be sold? Because your business might be worth nothing to the next person. Right? But decide if it's just a case of, I want a little thing on the side, a little buy-to-let property that's going to bring me residual income, so I can use that to pay for my car finance or whatever. Or actually, am I setting up a business that's going to trade, that's going to scale, I'm going to get private investment and hopefully sell it for many, many millions in the future.
Yeah, because there's a difference between a small business mindset and a big business.
Completely.
Okay, what's your actual goal in it?
Yes.
Yeah. You might not want to have a big business. It might be too much stress.
Correct. And so this is also a thing you need to establish for yourself. What is it you want? Because business isn't easy. Businesses breaks more people than it makes. The stats are not favorable. A lot of businesses don't survive past year 1. Even more businesses don't survive past year 3. So for those who go on to make a successful business, have gone through some serious headwinds.
Yeah. It's not easy, man. Not easy. So what would you say is like the biggest opportunity today then, if you were going to start again? What do you think is the best opportunity for young people?
Look, the internet is definitely the best opportunity for young people, right? I know there's a lot of talk about the baby boomer generation, the post-war kids who went on to buy properties for 30, 40 grand that are now worth several hundreds of thousands or even millions. That ship has sailed, right? We're not going to get that opportunity. But just think about how many people are now able to monetize things because of the internet. Right, social media has enabled that to happen. You can build an audience very quickly and monetize that audience. So, how are you using technology to advance your goals? If you're setting up a business, how do you add a digital element to it so you can get a higher multiple when you come to sell it? Because everybody wants a business that's scalable. Investors invest for greed more than anything else. Sometimes they do it because it's nice to do, but if you're investing, you expect a return. And so, how do you make that size? How do you make that pie as big as possible? So think about those opportunities, and also think about the kind of group economics. There's a lot of people in certain cultures who will group up their income to invest in things together, right? And it's better to own 10% of something big than 100% of something small. And so think about that. Who do you have around you in your network where you can group up and actually try and invest and do things together? If the economic challenges of your income means that you're only limited to so much, maybe 3-4 of you can achieve much more.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. So I got like 6 or 7 friends, we're all obviously same age, similar amount of money. We couldn't get a property individually. So I was like, okay, what if we just put our money together to get on the ladder? And it's not something we've never actually thought about. But that's exactly what you're talking about, isn't it?
Look, if you're going to do it, of course you have to always weigh the risks, right? Because it's about trust and making sure that, one person is going to change their mind suddenly and, there's going to be all these issues. But if you've got people that you genuinely trust, who are all thinking long term, who are all like-minded, then it can work.
That's amazing, man. So is there any particular industries you'd look at or businesses that you would start if you started again?
I would look at enterprise tech. So, the areas of ed tech, education technology, fintech, financial technology, med tech, medical technology, because these are all areas of, kind of constant growth. Especially COVID has shown us that, any business you're building now, having a tech element means that you can reach more people. People are working remotely, and therefore the demand on technology is only going to grow with AI in particular, right? So those sectors are definitely in demand, but also even logistics. Sometimes people neglect the basics because they assume that all the money is in the new, cooler technology, right? But simple things like logistics and delivery vans and second-hand cars, all these areas are still around, right? Cleaning services, windows, things that we assume nobody cares about them, but actually everybody needs on a daily basis. Don't neglect those things because they're still going to be around, regardless. Think of things that are recession-proof. Things like cleaning materials or, kind of skincare products and things like that. Doesn't matter if you're in a recession, you're still going to cream your skin. Right? So think about things that people are always going to need. Food, right? Food and shelter are 2 things that we're always going to need, regardless of what happens in the world. So don't neglect those areas because they seem too simple.
Yeah, and I guess everyone chases the hype, don't they? Whether it's crypto or AI.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about it, so everyone goes after it.
Yes.
What are people not looking at, the missed opportunities?
I think people are not looking at the more traditional sectors.
Yeah.
Because, and you know, look, the crypto and the digital assets, of course, are more accessible because you can enter those markets at a fraction of the cost of going to set up a logistics company, right? So yes, in terms of ease, that's why the technology has enabled people to be able to invest and do things far easier than they've ever been able to do. But that means people aren't focusing on some of the more traditional things because it takes longer. So for example, you gave the example of you and your friends not being able to buy properties individually, but actually people going online and investing in a fraction of a property. It's almost like a crowdfund option where you can buy part of a property, receive part of the rental income, and when it's sold, you get your share back plus whatever gain you've made. So there are these new ways of investing.
Are they doing that already?
Yeah, that's already there. That's been happening for a while. That's already been happening for a while. So there are these different avenues that people can use to get onto, you know, to buy assets. But then that means that all the traditional stuff is there to be taken.
It is, That's crazy, man. So what are you investing in now? Can you say like what markets you're looking at?
Yeah, so, you know, skincare.
Oh, the same ones you're talking about,
yeah, absolutely. So skincare, but also technology. I think, you know, you can't neglect those areas. And look, not every gamble you take is going to work out. And that's something, again, that, you know, you learn over time, that not all your investments are going to make you money. And that's why I said, when somebody asks me, what's my best investment? I say, come back to me in 20 years, because I'll then be able to tell you how they've performed, because you have to give it time to go through the peaks and troughs, right? There is no investment that always has a perpetual performance. It's going to have downturns, and some of them will be wiped out completely, but you have to diversify, look at the type of assets you've got, the difference between physical assets and financial assets. When you look at the world's richest people, they're getting richer because the majority of their wealth is in financial assets, not physical. Whereas if you go down the scale of society, everybody owns physical assets and they grow slower. So if you look at COVID, for example, during 2021 in the US, the richest 1% made so much money because the majority of their wealth was in financial assets, stocks and shares, private companies, etc. When they grow far quicker than the state of a property does. So yes, property grows slowly over time, but if that's all you've got, you might achieve a 10-20% increase every few years. Whereas you saw what happened with stocks like Tesla and things like that, which just completely rocketed. And so if you're comparing your wealth to somebody who's dominated majority in that, they're always going to outpace you. So sometimes people wonder, why can't we ever catch the rich people? They're always getting richer because their wealth is predominantly in financial assets.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Yeah, because most people say, look, I want to buy my first investment property. And it's like, okay, is that the best decision for you right now based on what your goals are and what you have in your bank?
Yeah.
You know, you might buy a property with all your £50,000. You might not get the returns you need to then get to the next level.
Yeah.
So financial assets could be a way to do that.
Completely, and I think, again, it comes back to your risk tolerance, right? People default to property because it's safe. There's a saying that's as safe as houses, right? You buy a property, you know it's always there, it's yours, you can touch and feel it. But for me, I always say, don't rush it, right? Don't rush just to buy the first property you can find just because you then own a property. There may be a better strategy to diversify your assets and actually grow your money for a bit longer, make a bit more of it, so that when you buy the property, you've then still got some more money to do other things with. Right? It's just about timing and what your priorities are, because you might need a house and that's, you know, the thing that you have to spend your money on. But if you don't and you've got time, then I would say see how you can grow your money and then ultimately you can decide what you do with it.
Yeah, that's a really good one, man. I guess ultimately people, the dream is to have passive income where you're financially free. Does that even exist? Is that a real thing where money just coming in and you're sitting at home without working for it?
I mean, passive income definitely is a thing, but it often requires you to do a bit of work in advance to you getting that passive income. So, you know, whether that's property income coming in, whether that's dividends from investments, stocks and shares, passive income definitely is a thing. But, you know, I always say, you know, somebody with a lot of money may not necessarily become wealthy, but someone who's wealthy can find ways to generate more income, because it's what you do with your money that makes you wealthy. So if you don't put your money in the right places, then you can't get residual income, you can't get the right growth. But if you've already got a lot of it, you can strategically place it in things that will bring you that income and result. So do you focus on building your wealth and then deploying your money in sensible places? It's just really about how you approach it, you know. But yes, residual income definitely is a thing. I mean, Is there a thing as a hands-off approach? It depends. A lot of wealthy people will hire advisors to manage those things for them. So for a cost, it can be completely hands-off, and you're just receiving dividends, royalties, or whatever through your accounts every so often if someone else is managing it for you.
That's exactly what I need.
Absolutely, yeah. But look, initially, you might have to do the hard work.
Yeah.
When you're building wealth, the initial phase is the hardest because that's the part that requires the most of your own money or your own skill and your own time.
Yeah.
But once you build to a certain point, then it's almost like compound interest. The effect of it gets bigger and bigger each time because you've done the groundwork, you've built the foundation, so then the growth becomes far easier. But if you don't spend enough time building that foundation, it can't scale.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing, man. So what's like, in terms of your personal career, what's like an investment you're really proud of, would you say?
Well, I mean, one of the ones I'm really proud of is the skincare brand, Nala's Baby, which, is a friend of mine who established that, Crept. It's just really being able to believe in a friend's vision and backing it with more than just your words. Because I think, let's be honest, a lot of the time we back people through words and words only. And a few emojis on their post when it happens. And, we don't actually put our money where our mouth is. But, to see him transition from a musician to an entrepreneur and taking it very, very seriously and achieving success from it and knowing that I took a risk to back it and it's actually turned out to do okay. I think it's a proud moment for me because it shows what can happen when people come together and you support each other in more ways than just your words. I mean, look, sometimes you haven't got the resources to support beyond your words, but where you can, put your money where your mouth is, right? And actually help. The hardest part of an entrepreneur is that initial fundraise, the friends and family, because if you don't come from a community where people have disposable money, then you can't raise money to actually bring your concept to life. But if you can actually contribute to that, and you do, and it goes on to be successful, you feel good about it because you know that it's not just a random person you've supported, but it's somebody you actually care about who's actually achieving success because it's the support you've been able to give.
It's a lot deeper, So how did that conversation start then? Did you know him before, or did he?
Yeah. So I mean, I've recently done an interview with him just talking about that experience. I've known him for over 10 years now, and he came to me, or he sent me a message about thinking of doing this business, and so I went to see him. He told me about it. I was a bit confused at first because I thought, what does a musician know about going into sort of skincare industry? But he'd done a lot of research. He was thorough with it. He had spent a lot of his own money, and that's a very important thing as an investor. If you're putting your money into someone's business, how prepared are they to put their own money into it as well? Because sometimes people just want you to give you your money. But he had spent a lot of time, his own money, done a lot of research to a point where I thought, you know what, I'm happy to back this because of the work he's put into it. And then of course, the hard work doesn't stop there just because you put money into something. It's then about the direction to make sure that the execution is also done in a way that it gives you the best chance of success. Nothing's ever guaranteed, by the way, right? All the good intention and all the money and everything doesn't mean it'll be successful, but there's a lot of things you can do to give yourself the best chance of succeeding.
And I guess it's building the right team as well, isn't it?
Completely. Completely.
Yeah.
Acknowledging what your strengths are, identifying who you need to have on the team in order to take you from A to B. I think that's very important. Even if you're only at the stage where you're thinking of a business plan now, have in mind who you need to get it from the paper to the real world. Because it may not be you. You might be the person with the vision, but you're not the person to execute.
No.
And don't fall in love with the idea where you can't take any criticism. It's important to be able to objectively look at what you're building and understand how you transition it.
It's quite hard though, because just starting this content platform, hearing criticism is hard because you're mostly involved in it. And for someone to say something negative about it, it's quite hard to get over, but you have to.
Listen, your business is not your baby. Don't fall in love with it, right? Unless it's a lifestyle business that you don't ever want to sell or scale, then fine, But if you're building a business that may attract the interest of external investors, you have to be willing to take criticism.
No, it's true, man. So what's the future for you then? What's your mission, would you say, moving forwards?
My mission, that's a deep question.
So that's a deep one, isn't it?
So look, I've got a book which is being published at the end of March called The Money Ladder, The 3 Steps of Making and Growing Your Wealth. And that's really a culmination of all the things I think I've been talking to people about when it comes to financial literacy. I also talk about business, I talk about investing in private equity, I talk about preserving your wealth more importantly. So like I said, it's not just about making money, but how do you keep it? And how do you keep it for generations to come? So look, I'm excited for people to be able to read that at their own pace and leisure, to understand what's in there. I think the future for me really is to try to, continue giving people this perspective about money and wealth. Because like I said, I know for a lot of people, it's not what they're exposed to. And I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can offer that perspective in a way that people can resonate with. So more of that, really.
Oh, that's perfect, man. And when's the book coming out?
28th of March.
28th. Can you give us any secret gems in there? Just a little teaser.
Oh, secret gems. God, there's a lot of gems in there. I like to think all of it is gems. But, so yeah, I mean, I talk about, I think, the importance of income. And then how you create more income and what you then do with that income to build wealth. Because before you build wealth, I talk about this triangle where at the top is wealth, at the bottom is income, and the things you do with income to ultimately build wealth, right? So it's about where you put your money. And again, I talk about the difference between physical assets and financial assets and how you actually, scale your wealth quicker, because one definitely grows faster than the other, but also understanding the risk you have to take in order to then achieve that growth. So it's really making an honest assessment of where you are. And the reason why it's called the money ladder is because we're always climbing, right? Elon Musk still works. Bill Gates still works. All these people who are billionaires still work. Why? Because we're always climbing. There's always more we want to achieve. So it's the money ladder. You'll be able to identify where you are on the ladder and what you need to do to climb it.
That's amazing, man. So how do we apply that? So say I'm earning £2,000 a month. How do I apply that to what I've got now? So I've got £2,000. How am I splitting that up?
So again, in the book, I talk about a budgeting system that enables you to distribute your income. Put in a certain percentage in one bucket, a certain percentage in another bucket, and a certain percentage in a third bucket.
What does it look like, those percentages?
So it's 50, 30, 20.
Okay.
And, again, this will be individual based on what your commitments are. And I can't stress that enough, because a lot of the time you hear people giving advice saying, save this amount of your income. But if your rent, let's say, is more than that, then that doesn't apply to you instantly, so you're switched off, right? So it's about understanding where you are and thinking, okay, what can I realistically put into these buckets? And so I give you a template to use as a general rule of thumb, but then I always say, please check how this actually aligns with your reality, because I can't tell you to save 60% of your income if your rent is 70. That's already not going to apply to you then, is it? But actually, okay, what do you then do with whatever's left? That's what's important.
I guess that is the problem then, isn't it? That 7% of the income is going straight out on bills. We haven't got enough to then save up. But you're saying it's also that plus the mindset and the knowledge that you build up together builds the wealth.
Completely. So look, if your income is restricted at the moment and a lot of it is going towards bills, then the only way to grow wealth is by finding ways to make more income, to then be able to invest in places that can grow over time to give you the kind of lifestyle, the money you need. So there is no magic trick to this, that if you earn 30 grand and your bills are 25, you're not going to become wealthy overnight by just saving the last bits of money you have. You're going to need to figure out a way to make more income, whether that's a new job, how do you upskill yourself to find more income, to then be able to create a larger disposable pot of income where you can invest that over 10, 15 years can really bring you a return. That is the magic. And it isn't really magic, but it's the way you have to apply it. I think some people assume that there's a quicker way, that, if I buy this digital asset or this crypto, then I can make money overnight and all my problems will be solved. But until that magic moment comes, the reality is you need to figure out a way to make more income. And that's why in the book, I start with income, because people sometimes overlook the importance of income. It all starts there. Because that's what you use to invest in things, which then grows to give you wealth.
So I guess you've got your job, try and get a promotion to increase your income. Whilst you're building knowledge and building the side hustle.
Exactly. And then the side hustle is, we can't ignore it now. There's lots of people who have side hustles because there's limitations to what they can earn. And so if they create a side hustle, that then becomes their vehicle to create more income, which then they can use that money to invest and do other things.
So last question, do you think a 9 to 5 is still a good route to success? Or is that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I think like anything in life, right? You could be a professional athlete and earn very little money, or you can be a professional athlete and earn a lot of money. Same thing. You could be in a 9 to 5 and earn average wage. You could be in a 9 to 5 and earn £1 million a year. So it's always relative, right? You have to figure out where are you on the chain. Some people have this generalization that 9 to 5 is a trap and you can never make any money. Well, the There are people in the city who are earning millions of pounds a year from a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So it's possible. You just have to figure out where you are on that scale.
Yeah.
And if you can ever achieve it, if not, then what are the other alternatives that are available to you?
Yeah, that's it, man. Perfect. Where can they find you? Where can the audience?
Urban Financier on Instagram, now on YouTube as well, and on my website.
Guys, go check him out. He's giving loads of gems. Hopefully we can do some more content with him in the future. But yeah, loads of big things to take away. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Venture Room, and we'll see you on the next one.